Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Novel Universe with your hosts, Dawn and Ashley. And in today's podcast, we will be discussing The Soulmate Equation by Christina Laurens, which is two people. I did not know that.
Didn't either.
Till a couple days ago. So that's kind of cool. If you're new to the podcast, Ashley and I will start off with a spoiler-free review, and then we will let you know when we go into spoilers. We will talk about our likes and our dislikes. And our next podcast will be Bromance Book Club 4.
Isn't it bromantic?
Isn't it romantic? It's going to be in a couple weeks, so get ready for that one. All right, before we begin, let's find out what the Soulmate Equation is about. And it is long, so I should probably skip around this description. Okay.
I would.
Single mom Jess Davis is a data esthetician wizard, but no amount of number crunching can convince her to step back into the dating world. Raised by her grandparents, who now help raise her 7-year-old daughter, Juno, Jess has been left behind too often to feel comfortable letting anyone in. After all, her father has never been around. Her hard-partying mother disappeared when she was 6, and her ex decided he wasn't father material before Juno was born. Jess holds her loved ones close, but working constantly to stay afloat is hard. There's a motorcycle going by, and lonely. But then Jess hears about Genetically, a buzzy new DNA-based matching company that's predicted to change dating forever. Finding a soulmate through DNA, the reliability of the numbers. This Jess understands. Oh my God, forget all that. Yeah, so she meets a guy through Genetically, and things happen. Okay. That is a very long description.
I'm so glad I didn't read it, because when I did go back and read it, I was like, some of these synopsises are just, they're not done well enough to where you're not going to know the whole entire story with reading the back of the book. Like, it's like, okay, you might as well have just spelled it all out to me, because now I have nothing to look forward to within the book.
Yeah.
Which is
I read it hard too. All right. So we're going to start with our rating. Ashley and I do not discuss the book before we podcast. We have no idea who liked it or who didn't. And we're going to start off with rating. So Ashley, what did you rate The Soulmate Equation?
I gave it a 3.5.
Ooh, I gave it a 1. I hated it.
I knew you would. I was either like, maybe she read this on a good day, and maybe I'll get nice done with it. Oh, Makaji, let's discuss it.
Before we discuss, I just want to give a disclaimer to all these people who are tuning in to the podcast or to the YouTube, and you love the book, and you're like, oh, hell no, she just gave it a 1. I'm going to click out. Don't click out yet, because this book isn't horrible. It's just, I don't like the writing style. So this book is a me problem and not necessarily the book problem. It's not like problematic or anything. It's just not my jam. So I just wanted to put that out there.
And that's okay though. It is. This is what makes for a good book discussion. That's why Dawn and I usually have great discussions, is because we're either at two opposite ends of the totem pole, or we agree, which is like, what in the world? Where did that come from? So, okay. Dislikes. I'm sure you have a whole list.
I do.
Okay, well, I'll start. This book, one of my biggest problems with this specific style of writing is that it becomes super formulaic when you read a book of this genre. And yes, I know it's about the journey and how they get there, but there were some moments in this book where it could have been even better if it wasn't so formulaic. You could definitely tell that, there's this enemies to lovers trope that happens, and, there's going to be a crisis, and then, they're going to fall in love with each, like, it's very formulaic, and I'm all for the journey, okay? But there were moments that I feel like the book lacked because of how formulaic it was.
And that is my biggest issue. It was a Hallmark movie. And I'm not shitting on Hallmark movies. There's nothing wrong with Hallmark movies if you like that style of writing. Hallmark movies are very sweet. you know what you're going to get going into it. It's going to be a couple and they meet, and there's going to be a, you know, a falling out, and then they fall in love at the end. And it's all the same, like you said, formula. But then what they do is they just put in a different white couple.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe there's a quirky Black best friend, maybe. But it's all just very like cut and paste. And this was cut and paste. And if you like that, that's great, but I don't. I like a little bit more critique in the books that I read, because that's enjoyable for me. And it was all very predictable. I did not read the synopsis, so I predicted every beat, including what was in the synopsis, but I predicted pretty much everything that happened in this book. That's terrible. I shouldn't go in knowing how the book is going to end. And there was a point in the book where I was like, I could have written this. And I am not a writer, but I felt like I could have written this book and sold hundreds and thousands of copies. Just
come on, Doc. You're in the wrong field.
The writing was just really simple, and there was just like no imagination to this writing at all.
Okay.
So
I was a little bit more fierce than I was with it, but hey, generally,
yeah. Just
my biggest thing is that the two people that are put together, Jess and River, they're supposed to be really smart people, like super duper smart people. Like River is like the owner of this genetic alley place, and Jess is a statistician. Like she does and crunches numbers all the time, right? And so the whole process of genetic alley is that you're supposed to be paired with someone that is going to be super compatible to you. And it's like, okay, that's awesome. Where is the deepness in their relationship? It was what I was missing. It was like, there was a lot of moments where you're like, oh, that's super sweet and cute. And I like it. But it was like, there wasn't this deep intimacy that I was expecting to feel from finding my soulmate. But you know, it's like, yet again, I did enjoy the read, but if I had to pick out some things that could have made this book better, that was another one, is that you're supposed to be your soulmate. Like, get into that for me. Let's go look past appearances and like minor things that you somehow just get along with each other. It's like, okay, that was nice because now you're, you know, bridging me into it. But I felt like I was still on my way there, and I didn't quite get the deep connection that you're supposed to get. Right?
Yeah. I think we've moved on to the romance section of the book.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I thought the romance was boring and it was too fast. Like he was kind of a dick to her. And then they have one good date and all of a sudden he's marriage material. Mm-hmm. It was too quick. Once again, very formulaic with the daughter. I saw it coming a mile away because it's like, oh, he loves my daughter. Okay.
Okay. Take him out for ice cream. It's fine.
Yeah. There was a moment that I noted that kind of I couldn't understand what this was supposed to mean. So it was when they were going, I think it was when they were going to this red carpet event at somebody's house. And he leans over to her and he says, "Did you think of me when you put on that dress?" And I was like, what am I supposed to get from that? Is that supposed to be hot? I think the intention of it was supposed to be like sexy, like, were you thinking of me when you put on that dress? Like really like smoldering. But what I got from it was like, I'm awesome. And like, was I important? Like you should be only, I don't know. It just came across as a bit of a narcissist. Just like, who are you? And who do you think you are, where I should be thinking of you when I'm putting on my dress? Like, I think I took it the wrong way, but because I wasn't feeling the romance, it didn't connect. It didn't come off as hot. It came off as I'm the shit and you should know it. I had to read that part a couple times because I was like, I don't understand what that means. I literally said, I put in my notes, I don't understand what that means. I don't know what that means.
Oh, that's amazing. I thought it was cute.
Oh. I mean, towards the end of that whole exchange, he was like, I was thinking of you and I was brushing my teeth or some bullshit. And I was like, oh, okay. He's opening up. I get it. But at first I was like,
he doesn't
first
know
you take this introvert who has zero personality, and then you make him say this thing. Where did that charming guy, where was this charming guy the whole time? He just comes out of nowhere, and then I get really confused when he busts something out like that. I just
okay.
Okay, Jess. She was fine, but she was also forgettable. Like, I've read this woman before. She's, she's harried, she's a single mom, she's constantly comparing herself to other women. How come she looks all put together and her hair is shiny and beautiful and I'm in my sweats all the time?
So I had an issue with Jess's mom. I did not like that little segue into some sort of something. I'm not going to spoil it, but I just felt that it was unnecessary because I was expecting something else to happen, to be like the big moment where Jess grows up, if you will. And that moment was not for me. It was very dull. You could have completely sideswiped that whole entire interaction.
Hadn't happened in the story, it would not have changed the story at all. It would not have impacted it at all. That's a problem. A major character should impact the character that it's supposed to, or the story as a whole. And if it doesn't, then don't put it in there. There's no reason for it. So I feel like, never, I'm not gonna say it, but whatever. Yeah. Let's move on to Fizzy.
Fizzy. Okay.
Okay. This girl is supposed to be the comic relief. I never laughed, like, ever. And she's supposed to be like the opposite of, she's basically the quirky Black best friend in the Hallmark movies, except she's Asian. She's not Black in this, she's Asian. And she's kind of the polar opposite of Jess because she's very confident, she's secure in her sexuality, cool. However, I've read that before. It's in every best friend book. There's always a buddy that's really different from the main character. If there's no nuance in your book, I don't want to read it because I've already read it before in other books. Why do I need to read your book? What makes your book special? And I have to say this one thing. So, oh my God, this woman is 35 years old, and we are not the most mature people all the time. But they go into the genetically office, and there's a person who works there named Butt Kiss. That is low hanging fruit. Okay, I love a good "that's what she said" joke. I will laugh every time. But "that's what she said" jokes are not low hanging fruit. Those can be quite, weighty. Let's take some thought in some of those. You have to be quick. You have to have good timing with those jokes. Butt Kiss, are we 6?
Not the same thing. With that name in particular, I was like, seriously? We threw a "that's what she said" joke in there? Like, that's what it felt like, was like.
No, "that's what she said" jokes are good. This was immature.
This was a dead one because I'm like, I've heard Butt Kiss before. But see, I liked Fizzy. However, she is your standard like sidekick friend, that is everything that you're not of a person. But there were a lot of things that Fizzy said that I was personally like cracking up at, just because it just hit a chord for me. And I'm sorry it didn't hit a chord for you.
It did not.
I thoroughly enjoyed her personality.
No chords were hit over here. All right, let's talk about River.
River. My biggest thing with River, I wished he had a POV. And I say this because I feel like I would have liked him better as the male in the story. I really do. I feel like there were some missed opportunities there.
That's a problem with writing. If you can't convey a character without them having a POV, then that's a problem. You should be able to do that if you're a successful writer. I'm sorry. I know that's a little harsh, but we've read plenty of books where they don't have their POV and you're like swooning over the guy, the lead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
in the beginning, Mr. Americano, which I love that, by the way, because it's like, you know, how many times do you sit and people watch somebody in your normal setting or whatever, and you got names for everybody and you already have decided what they do for a living, how they act, how they're in bed, you know, the whole 9 yards. Like, you've already got it. Like, that part I liked. But yet again, it's like when we're doing this whole enemies to lovers thing, like, it's not an alien and a Ronin.
Okay. So once again, I have a quote. Well, I described him as hot Sheldon Cooper with no personality. For those of you, he's from the Big Bang Theory. He's the nerdy, well, they're all nerds, but the main nerd. I think the problem with him was that it was all tell and no show. And at this point in the book, I was done. This part I'm about to say, I was just done. I think it comes pretty early in the book because I think they met him already, like the first time they had their first interaction with him, but they're still not, I don't think they're dating yet. And so let me set the scene. Okay, so they're in this coffee, they all visit this coffee shop pretty regularly. River does too. He comes in at the same time, all the time. He walks in, he's constantly on his phone. He's constantly looking down on his phone and he orders his drink, whatever. And this is how Jess describes him as he has entered. And remember, he's still in his douchey phase of the book. Yes, he's great to look at, but there seemed to be more to the weight of their attention, meaning the rest of the people in the coffee shop, like the low humming vibration of hero worship. Okay, I have something to say about this. This guy is an introvert. Nobody hero worships an introvert. I'm an introvert, so I feel like I can say it. This guy comes into the coffee shop every day. His head is down in his phone. He's not engaging with anybody in line. He doesn't engage with the baristas. He has no personality. Technically, what should happen, this person who is the hero worship should be charming, says hello to everyone when he walks in, smiles. He's not looking at his phone. His head is up. He's chatting with the baristas. No, Susie, I don't want a muffin. You know what I mean? This guy, nothing. Hero worship because he's hot? It's like, come on. We are grown ass people reading this book. You're not going to say and convince me that because this man is 6'5" with a huge ass dick, supposedly, that I'm just supposed to swoon. Like, we need something else. He's a dick. As to the reader, he's been a dick the whole time, but I'm supposed to believe that everybody in the coffee shop is like in love with this guy who is constantly with his head down. Someone who has their head down, I'm sorry, I'm ranting, but this pissed me off so badly. Somebody with their head down is usually perceived as arrogant because they don't care about anything else that's going around them. All they care about is what's on their phone. They don't care about you or the baristas. They just care about what's on their phone. That's most important. So you don't perceive that person as awesome. You look at him like, oh God, here comes this guy again on his fucking phone all the time. But we all hate that guy.
Can't he be like hidden sexy though?
No, I'm sorry. Okay, Ashley, set the scene. You're at Starbucks. You go to Starbucks every day. And this guy walks in. He walks in on his phone, orders his drink, and walks out every day. Are you worshiping him? Are you like, oh, that guy is hot?
No,
because he's always on his phone. We all see that person who's always got their head down in their phone at the Starbucks. in their nice suit, ignoring everybody but their phone. And nobody is like salivating or hero. I mean, I understand if they're attractive and you're like, whoa, he's attractive, but hero worship, those two words got me. Hero worship.
Must have missed that part because, yeah.
It bothers me because this is a romance and I should be buying into the hotness of this guy. But I'm just being told that he's so sexy that people worship him. No. You know who was hotter than him? Old dude in The People We Meet on Vacation. What was his name? Alex?
Oh, Alex, yeah.
He was hotter than this guy. He had way more personality than this guy.
Well, he did. That's for sure. He did.
I'm sorry for that long rant, but oh my God.
That's
all right.
That's all I have.
I do have one nitpick.
Okay. It's nitpicking time for Dawn.
It's nitpicking time. Did you finish your nitpicks?
Girl, you just walked all over my nitpicks. You just keep going.
Okay.
Like, wait a minute. This is no.
I only have one nitpick. So okay. I notice little stuff like quotes like that. I have to say, when I'm bored with the book and nothing is grabbing me, like the characters aren't grabbing me, the story, I don't even buy into this whole genetically DNA bullshit. I'm not buying into the premise either. Then I find other things to occupy me, and it's usually dumb shit, like that stupid quote that I just said with the hero worship. Like,
okay, let's hear
because
it.
I have nothing else to focus on. Okay, I want to talk about the daughter for a second.
Oh, Juno?
Yes, Juno.
Okay.
This is the smartest 7-year-old I have ever met in my fucking life.
I know.
Okay, so there is a point in this book where, so she's dating oh boy, and they were on the cover of like their local newspaper or whatever. And Juno goes to the library with her grandfather every day. And this is supposed to be a fun, adventurous, lighthearted moment between Jess and Fizzy. And they're running into the library because they don't want Juno to see the Tribune cover. She's 7. I don't know a 7-year-old who's looking at the Tribune, first of all. So I have to mention this as well. They walk in and Fizzy says, I'm a librarian, by the way. I work in a library. She says, oh my God, am I gonna get in trouble? I haven't renewed my library. And she was not kidding. I wasn't laughing, that wasn't funny. So they run in kinda harried because she doesn't want her 7-year-old daughter to see her on the cover of this Tribune. In libraries, the youth department and the adult department are on two sides of the library. They are not on the same side. If grandpa is gonna go get his newspaper first, it's probably up high. That 7-year-old is looking around, walking. She not looking at the newspapers. She is doing her own thing, being a little pain in the butt, running around the adult department before she can head over to the youth department and go play. That was the first one. The second one, oh my goodness, the Today Show was on. I don't want Juno to see me on the Today Show because 7-year-olds watch the Today Show at 7 o'clock in the morning.
Watch it. I know some that do. That was not abnormal for me because there are some that do. There are some that read the newspaper. Yes.
With your parent, or you just like, oop, got to get my Cheerios and watch the Today Show.
Mm-hmm. Well, she's with her nan and her papa like all the time. That's what they do. They read the newspaper. They watch the 7 a.m. Today Show. Like it's a normal thing because of the family aspect that she's been like kind of engrossed in.
Okay, well, explain this one.
Disagree.
I'll give you that. But explain this one. She's on the cover of People magazine. And mom says, I'm shocked that her little friends haven't mentioned it yet. Because they're reading People magazine over at the recess, eating their sandwiches. Because they know what her mom looks like.
That one, no.
Okay.
The Tribune and the Today Show, I'm like, no. I do know 7-year-olds that do that because of their family dynamic. But the People magazine, unless your mama's reading it on the subway, I don't know, like, how else they're going to be looking at it. It's not like it's a highlights magazine that they're engrossed at 7, circling all the things that they can find.
And when I was 7-year-old, I didn't know who my friend's mom looked like. I may have seen her a couple times, but I'm not gonna be like, oh, hey, your mom was on the cover of it. I don't know what your mama looked like. I've seen her twice.
Okay,
right?
So since Dawn doesn't have any likes, I do. I did enjoy the idea of like connecting with someone via DNA, because when you think about the chance that could lead someone into finding that soulmate person, it would be rather cool. And I did like Juno a lot. I loved her quirkiness, the daughter. I loved how dedicated Jess was to her daughter and didn't kind of like shadow her from real life experiences. She explained things to her, which I thought was super important. There was a few moments in the book that there is a high crisis situation, and she basically is like, okay, just so you know, you might see this, this, and this. This is what's going to happen. Yada, yada, yada. I did like the fact that this book was everything you hope for me personally, and having a light, easy read. I know I've been saying it a lot the past like month and a half, but I'm really thoroughly enjoying these more lighter, laughable moments. Like it's not so deep and intense, and I think that's why I'm just like gobbling it up, because usually I read a lot of intense fantasy worlds, and there is so many different things going on, all these different kingdoms and tribes you got to worry about, names, and who did this and who passed that. And so to me, it's so nice to just read something that I'm literally sitting down and just laughing at, because it's like hella cheese, but it's good cheese, like we say all the time. I enjoyed the cheese with it. I did like the fact that we do see that River is not so much of a douchebag in these higher intense situations, that he steps in like every woman would hope that a guy would step in for, not being asked, just doing. There's one part in the book where there's something that happens, and Jess is freaking out, and he literally just says, you know what, we're going to make a list. This is what we're going to do first. What would you like to do first? I'm going to take care of this. Like, just way to fizzle out the situation. As someone who is happily married, that is what every married woman wants from her husband in a crazy situation that is happening. You want someone who's going to help you navigate through those waters. And I do think that he showed up when he needed to show up. Now, he did have some fun, but I still did enjoy that part, at least. Especially there's like a few scenes where you're just like, I love it so much. But yeah. And I loved the family aspect of her with her grandparents, and how much they were just the epitome of a family that has stuck together, that's there for each other. And I really did like that part.
Thank you for joining us for the spoiler-free edition of, what's this called? The Novel Universe. And our next podcast will be, what's it called?
Isn't It Romantic?
Isn't It Romantic? By Lisa K. Adams. Thank you for joining us, and we'll catch you in the next podcast.
Bye-bye.